My hand is on if you get real close, you can see the title. It's the Federalist. And above that is Webster's Second International Dictionary. I don't like the third. And behind that is the wedding portrait of Maureen. And down at the bottom is a well-known portrait of Thomas More, who's one of my heroes. It's a tradition at the court to have the law clerks of a justice commission a portrait which will be hung at the court when the justice dies or retires.
He was a principled man. He was a man of faith. He was a patriot. And he was brave.
He was magnificent. He was personally very warm, very funny, generous. He had a lot of joy of life, joie de vivre.
He was a lion. He was one of the great scholars that we looked up to, that gave some of us a degree of excitement about the law. It was not just a profession.
He read every single thing, every line. He might call you about it. Clarence, why'd you use that word in the last piece? I can't join that. That's not the proper use of that word. Oh my gosh, give me
He was a force. He was a huge personality. That's true as a human being, and it's true as a justice.
He was funny, like, quick. I mean, just, he would come out with these one-liners, and you would think, how did anybody think of that so fast?
He would say something or he'd pass a note that was hilarious. And so I had to pinch myself very hard so I wouldn't burst out laughing.
This is a man who absolutely loved his wife, Maureen. He loved his kids and grandkids.
There are 9 children, and there are 5 boys, 4 girls, 19 years from top to bottom. He said he always wanted a baseball team. So he got the baseball team.
We'd all gang up on him, and I could just see him laughing, almost like, I'm really proud of that. Look at how I raised them to make fun of me.
He loved to sing. He loved music and to sit down at the piano and bang out songs. He would actually fairly often walk around the house just, singing, getting ready to go somewhere and singing, and it could be disruptive, but...
He drove very fast. People who drove with him were often terrified when the trip was over, and they were ready to kiss the ground that they had actually gotten there.
Mom and Dad were very devout Catholics who believed that any children that God blessed them with would be welcome and raised as Catholics, which is what they did.
He was very public about his faith and encouraged others to be public about his faith. He, at the same time, had a respect for the pluralism of the nation and how the Constitution guards that.
He felt that as a Catholic, he had certain responsibilities as a Catholic, but those were not what guided his decisions.
He was a natural teacher. At the dinner table, we learned, hopefully we learned etiquette, but I think we also learned grammar and religion and theology and philosophy.
Be home for dinner. Be home for dinner. That is when the little monsters are civilized. They do not grow up civilized. It is a process, and much of that process occurs at family dinner.
We had our fight backs. We would try not to go to Mass on Sunday, pretend that we were sick or busy, but we would get there one way or another.
My father loved to teach. My father said to me, what's your career plan? And I was kind of taken aback, and I said, well, I don't know. I'm not sure I have one. I said, well, what was yours? And he kind of was taken aback and paused for a minute, and he said, to be a professor. By this point, he was on the Supreme Court, so I said, well, I guess it's not going so well for you then, is it?
If you went in his office and you saw him set up there when he got going, with all the drafts out and the screen and the dictionary.
In your mind's eye, you could see him chuckling, Like he would be writing and he would think, oh, that's a great line, that's a great line.
He was absolutely in his world and his element.
Justice Scalia's clerkship was the best clerkship at the court because every day was like an Italian street fight.
He really loved the clerks. It was a chambers where the law clerks were expected to disagree with him. He wanted to kind of level with you as a law clerk, and if you weren't disagreeing with him enough, or if you weren't disagreeing enough with you and with your other co-clerks, there was probably something wrong.
Justice Scalia would bound out of his chambers and he'd say, who are you clerking for? And I'd say, I'm clerking for Chief Justice Roberts. He'd say, okay, then let's talk about this Fourth Amendment case.
He engaged in every bit as vigorous a debate with his law clerks as he did with advocates in the courtroom.
It's fundamental stuff. Whether you think the Constitution bears its original meaning or you think it changes. Oh, my colleagues have thought about this for years. I'm not going to change their mind on those fundamental questions. If they think it's a morphing Constitution, that it means whatever they think it ought to mean today, they're not going to change that. They're going to say, what? My God, Nino, yes, originalism. Why didn't I think of that before?
You read all these opinions in law school, and one is as dry as the next, and then you get to Justice Scalia, and the words just leap off the page.
Everybody could understand what he was talking about, the common sense behind it.
You were writing, for the case books, for the student reading the opinion at the University of Chicago 5, 10, 15 years later. Some high school student who wants to know more about the Fourth Amendment can pick up a Scalia opinion and get excited about it.
When I would sit down and write an opinion, I always thought of having this little Nino on my right shoulder. And the Nino would say, oh, that's garbage, because of X, Y, or Z. And it helped me a lot in writing to always have in my ear the criticisms that I thought Nino would make, because those were usually the most trenchant, powerful criticisms.
Once asked how we could be friends given our disagreement on lots of things, Justice Scalia answered, I attack ideas. I don't attack people. Some very good people have some very bad ideas. And if you can't separate the two, you gotta get another day job.
I am so glad that I had the experience of being on the court with Nino. I feel as though I learned an incredible amount from him. Things about judicial method, about substantive areas of law, but mostly I learned things about how to be an effective justice.
He was totally about this job and about trying to get it right, and it mattered to him. Everything mattered.
He's going to be remembered by lawyers, academics, and judges long after the people he sat on the bench with are forgotten.
And I miss him every day. He was inimitable.